listening to AM Ocala Live, WOCA, The Source, as it's now time for Ocala Magazine. And we got Ben in the studio. Good morning, Ben.
Morning, Adam. How are you today?
Doing real good, my friend. And on the phone, in lieu of the social distancing and everything else, just being a good man about it, calling us in is Brock Sheraton. Good morning, Brock.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing real good, Ready for this weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting with the Florida Derby. We're very excited about it.
Yes, that is tomorrow. That's what we got you on here to talk about a little bit. Ben, I'll let you kind of host it.
Oh, great. Well, no, I appreciate that, Adam. We've got some great racing, despite the fact that COVID-19 is in our midst and grasp. And as Brock will tell you, we've got a very good field. Tis the Law, Independence Hall, Governor Morris, Candy Tycoon, Ajaweed, and I'll let him talk about some of the horses that we'll be seeing tomorrow. We'll be able to watch it on NBC Sports Channel with the TVG coverage, but it'll kind of have a surreal presence with no fans being present at the racetrack. And Brock, tell us your thoughts on obviously the big clash between some pretty good horses like Tis the Law and Independence Hall.
Well, I think Tis the Law, he's going to be the favorite. He should be the favorite. He's trained by Barclay Tagg, who won the Kentucky Derby with a couple of years ago, and he's owned by Sakatoba Stable. Funny Side was the horse that they had that won. Tis the Law is by a horse called Constitution. Constitution won the Florida Derby in 2014, and Tis the Law most recently won the Grade 3 Holy Bull Stakes at Gulfstream Park in February, and he looked very impressive in winning that. He won that by about 3 lengths and really won it with ease. Of course, Independence Hall comes into this race off of a second-place finish in the Sam Davis at Tampa Bay Downs, so he'll have to improve a little bit. Now, he, too, is by Constitution, which is kind of interesting. The horse that I think is very interesting right now is that horse that Ben mentioned, Governor Morris. He's trained by Todd Pletcher, and of course Pletcher's won 5 Florida Derbies, 4 of the last 6, and he comes into this race also lightly raced. He's had 1 start this year. That was in an allowance optional claiming race at Tampa Bay Down, and he defeated a nice Florida bred by the name of Untitled, who's by one of our exciting young stallions, Kozan. Now, we do have 3 Florida breds in the race that I think people are going to want to look at that could be possibilities too. The number 1 horse is As Seen on TV. He was 3rd in the Fountain of Youth. That's a Grade 2 race at Gulfstream. And then, of course, Chivalry is representing Jackson Better Farms, Fred Bry here in Ocala. He's by Awesome, of course, who stands at Ocala Stud. And then kind of a long shot, Sassy But Smart, a turf horse that comes into this race that is on the improve and will be a good price, but certainly wouldn't leave him out of my exotics.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've got a deep field, and as you say, we've got some terrific horses that, should distinguish themselves. I mean, obviously the sex appeal is between, I think, Tis the Law and, Governor Morris and Independence Hall, and those 3 names really seem to stand out. But as you say, nobody saw King Guillermo winning the Tampa Bay Derby at odds of 49-1. So anything is possible in thoroughbred racing. And the Florida Derby has produced so many Kentucky Derby winners. And, a lot of those horses, came out of people's programs here in Ocala. Orb and Nyquist both came out of Niall Brennan's training program, and Always Dreaming, came out of Jimmy Crouppy's program at Crouppy's Newcastle Farm. And, Ocala's got a great history, not just with the horses that were bred here, but also were broken and trained here as well, that have gone on and won the first leg of the Triple Crown, the Run for the Roses.
Yeah, it's amazing how many of these horses, have either, while there's 3 of them that were actually bred here in Florida, that's As Seen on T, Chivalry, and Sassy But Smart, but if you go through here, most of them have been in Ocala for one reason or another. Several have been sold here at Ocala Breeder Sales, and of course you have others that were, broken and trained here. Chivalry, of course, was raised here. As Seen on TV was raised here. Another horse that I think we need to kind of look at too is that Ete Indian. He won the Fountain of Youth at a decent price, 3-1. He won that race by 8.5 lengths, and he's the lone speed in the horse. So if you think that pace makes the race, he could be a horse that could get out there on the front end and kind of control things. So I think he has an advantage too. But as you said, most of them have been through Ocala for one reason or another.
Yeah, it just seems that Patrick Biancone is, a formidable force this winter. I mean, obviously with Sol Volante, who won the Sam Davis, and he's a trainer to definitely watch.
Oh, absolutely. There's a good story about that horse, too. He bought this horse for his daughter, who's also the exercise rider for Ete Indian, and his exercise rider and his assistant trainer. And he purchased this horse as a birthday present, kind of as a side thought at a sale. And it was her 22nd birthday, and he went to her and he says, if I can get a nice horse for $22,000, I'm going to buy it and get it for your birthday. And I think they got Ete Indian for about $20,000. So that's kind of an interesting story, kind of a fun story as well. And he'll be dangerous.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to watching the race tomorrow. As we sit here and we take a look at how the world has changed in just a matter of weeks, COVID-19 has really impacted our lives, and the thoroughbred industry is doing its part to keep people safe. We had the unfortunate news that 4-time Eclipse Award-winning jockey Javier Castellano had a confirmed case of COVID-19, and he will not be able to ride in the Florida Derby tomorrow because he has to self-isolate for 14 days. But there are some significant things being done as far as distancing for the backside workers at Gulfstream. I mean, you've got, I guess, around 3,200 horses on the grounds, 1,000 people that are caring for those horses. Horses are not self-existing items, so those people are essential. But there's measures being taken in the as far as breeding and as far as horse transportation. And Brock, share your thoughts on those things.
Well, the Florida breeding industry, we're about a $2.7 billion total economic impact. So, I mean, it's big business down here. And but, of course, like any other business, we're the breeding industry here in Florida taking extra precautions. Most of the mares that are bred to these stallions, we're right in the middle of breeding season right now. And most of the mares that are brought to these stallions for breeding, they come in from other farms often. The vast majority of them come in the day of the breeding. So when they come in, they come in off of a van with an attendant and sometimes some other folks. But there's certain precautions that are being made to where the attendant no longer goes into the breeding shed. The mare is met outside at the van, and then brought into the breeding shed, and where the breeding takes place, and then taken back out. All those equipment and everything, leg straps, collars, boots, that are used in the breeding process are, they're being sanitized between each breeding. Even the lead shank that they use going back and forth, those are all sanitized, in between to keep the breeding process as safe as possible with regard to the COVID-19. Same thing with the horse transportation people. There's these horses are certainly, they still have to be fed, they still have to be cared for, and so you just can't drop that business. And so many precautions are being taken, whether you're talking about from the breeding shed to the foaling barn to the horse van to the racetrack.
One of the questions that was brought up with Horse Racing Nation was that in lieu of all this stuff, COVID-19, and I think the question at the top of the article is this Gulfstream Park's last hurrah? And will this be the last? Will this weekend be the last for Racing Gulfstream Park in lieu of COVID-19? Your thoughts on that, there, Brock?
Well, they have not made any announcement as of yet. There are a few racetracks that are still running. They're still running in Southern California at Santa Anita. They're still running at Gulfstream, Tampa Bay, Ocala Park, and whether they, of course, all these tracks are running without racing fans. All the wagering is done, off track through computers and been served. But I don't know whether they will keep on going after the Florida Derby or not. So, but as from everything that we're hearing right now, they have not yet said anything otherwise. So we kind of hope that they keep on going.
With not really anything else sports-wise, as Ben and I have been talking here like we did last week, trying to bring up our own conversations that have some sports talk or whatever. And the idea of that, not any other televised sports that are live are out there right now. Does this draw more attention to the Florida Derby? Are people itching for something that's live, that's action, that they can catch on TV? Do you see that being more of an interest now that there's nothing else going on?
Oh, I certainly see that as one of the silver linings in this dark cloud. We are, like you said, the only live sporting event, and we're going right into the heart of our, most popular part of the season, with all these horses getting ready for the Kentucky Derby. Even though the Derby has been pushed back to September, most of these big prep races, the Arkansas Derby still on schedule. This race, Florida Derby, Santa Anita Derby. So those are three of the big ones, and right now they're those are all televised. They're still planned to be run and everything, and people are betting on these from home. There's a little racetrack in Nebraska that I didn't mention, and they're still running. I think their handle is up something like 800% right now.
Yeah, Fauner Park in Grand Island.
Yeah.
Do you see a with the change, with the postponement of the Kentucky Derby, does a change in schedule like this, how much does that affect these horses and now the field, and how does that change things for this horse season, this racing season?
Oh, I think it's going to be a big adjustment because when you train a horse up to a race, especially a big race like the Kentucky Derby, they start making plans and schedules way back in October and November. Whether they're going to have 2 starts before the Kentucky Derby, 3 starts. Is it going to be a month? Is it going to be 90 days? Yeah. And this is all very, very planned. And so now that the Derby's been pushed back to September, it throws all that stuff completely out the window, and they have to come up with definitely a plan B. And whether there's going to be a lot of prep races to even go into before the Derby. Are there going to be racetracks running in July and August?
Right.
It's going to be a challenge for a lot of the trainers that have these nice horses.
Absolutely.
The other thing too is that when you move back the Derby, what do you do with the Preakness? And what do you do with the Belmont Stakes? The Triple Crown. They're trying to figure out, if they run the Derby in September 5th, is the Preakness going to be 2 weeks later like it usually is?
Yeah.
And then is the Belmont going to be 3 weeks after the Preakness? And now you're getting into the Breeders' Cup, which is usually November 1st. So, there's a lot of changes and a lot of challenges for these horsemen with this COVID-19.
Right. Now you're talking about deep into fall running the Belmont Stakes, which is different weather-wise altogether and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, this will only be I think this is the first time since 1945 that the Derby has not been run on the first Saturday of May. And what's interesting to that, for all you Florida enthusiasts, 1945 was won by a horse named Hoop Jr., who was owned by Fred Hooper Jr., who was one of the legendary breeders here in the Ocala area. So maybe it's an omen for our Florida horses and Florida fans that the race gets pushed back to September.
Yeah, there you go. I love this guy. Silver lining for everything. I love it.
Absolutely. No, you have to think positively. And the OBS April sale has been moved to June.
June, yeah.
2-year-old training sale, and the June sale has been moved to July. So people are making adjustments, and obviously it's impacting the sales calendar as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only one thing they can't adjust is the mares that are giving birth to these foals. I mean, you can't tell them, hey, we got COVID-19 and we don't have anybody to help you, so you can't have that baby for another 3 months. So that part of the industry is still clicking right along.
That's right.
The same with the breeding. I mean, just with these horses, there's some things that you can postpone like a race, but when it comes to breeding and foaling and our breeding industry here in Ocala and the training, that can't be pushed back. These horses still need to be taken care of.
Yes, they do, and that's the way in which also too the way it impacts our community in itself, and then that's how it always comes back to you guys there, man, with Ocala Magazine and the stuff you guys do to in a sense shine some light on what they do within the community and everything else.
Absolutely, it's a critical component. What the equine industry and equestrian sport does for the city of Ocala and Marion County is, you can't, it's priceless. You can't put a value on it. And to see not just the thoroughbred industry impacted, but also the different equestrian sport, USEF, put a 30-day lockdown, to use that term, so to speak, where we're not going to be having any equestrian sport, and obviously that impacted Ocala and Marion County here. You had the culmination of the HIT series. You had the eventing series at the Florida Horse Park, which they were going to have another 3-day eventing horse trials in April. These events bring people here from all over the nation, but you also have people coming here globally as well to compete. And for them not to be able to compete, obviously it sets back their schedule as well. It's just not impacting the thoroughbred industry. You've got the eventing and the show jumping and the combined driving communities, the dressage communities, all affected. And obviously, I would have loved to have gone out to the Florida Horse Park and seen the eventing horse trials in April, and the $1 Million Grand Prix at HITS. And unfortunately, those were to the events that kind of fell by the wayside. But keeping people healthy is paramount. And adjustments are being made, not only to the thoroughbred racing calendar, but also to those other equestrian sport disciplines. Yeah,
absolutely. And with that being said, gentlemen, as we round it out, like we said, there's at least an event tomorrow. I was talking with the Florida Derby that we can have something to look forward to, nonetheless, right? Nonetheless, and with that, as we're coming just a little bit out of time here, my friend. Brock, if you had to throw one of them out there for tomorrow, who's your pick?
Boy, the horse that I like an awful lot, I kind of like this Ete Indian, just because when I look at a horse race, I do use pace makes the race. And even though he breaks from an outside post position, he's in post position 12, he's what we call an early speed horse, and he'll be on the front end. He'll be able to control everything. He doesn't depend on other horses for his running style. And then, the Florida bred, as seen on TV, don't leave him out. I think he could be a horse to look at as well. So I think those two are going to be horses that you might get some decent prices. Tiz the Law's the big favorite, but I look for Ete Indian, as seen on TV, as possibilities. And then if you're looking for some big money, Sassy but Smart is a horse that's on the improve. If you're looking for another 49-1 shot, that might be the one to look at, and that's one of the other Florida breds. So.
Mm-hmm. And just to verify that time, as Florida Derby is carded for a post time at 6:36 tomorrow.
Yeah, right, 6:36. Yeah, I think first post time down at Gulfstream Park is, I think it's 11:30. I'm not sure absolutely, but they've got 10 races, 10 stakes, I think, worth nearly $2 million. So it's going to be a big day, not just the Florida Derby.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you very much, partner. We appreciate it, and thanks for talking with us today and rounding out this week here. And we look forward to seeing this tomorrow. I know I am.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
You got it, partner. Enjoy the weekend and stay healthy out there.
All right. Good luck at the races.
Thanks, Brock.
There you go, buddy. Awesome. Well, good stuff, man. We always find a way to wrap it in there.
Absolutely.
For those who don't know, it may sound like we're playing, but this is always by the seat of our pants, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a pleasure, my friend.
We have a great time.
This is good stuff.
It's just been a lot of fun, and needless to say, we have some very interesting guests, and have had some very interesting articles in the magazine as well. A lot of things that we've written about have been impacted, have been canceled. Obviously Eva Schloss would have spoken last night at Marion Technical Institute.
That was
that was kind of difficult to lose certain things from the calendar, but things still go on. We're still here in the studio, and still having a lot of fun, just engaging in conversation and talking about a lot of things that are impacting the community. And what more could one ask for?
That's right, buddy. That's right. And with that, folks, I'm going to leave it here as we're making our way to the end of AM Ocala Live here at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. Stay tuned for the Conservative Watch Hour with Annie Delgado as they talk a little bit of the politics that went through this week in lieu of, obviously, novel coronavirus and COVID-19. Stay tuned for that from 11 till 12. Now, as I leave you folks, a little positive note. We've made it to the weekend. We all deserve it. Enjoy it. The weather's going to be phenomenally beautiful. And I'm going to leave you with that until Monday. And as I do say, thank you guys very much this week for listening. And we'll continue to deliver a good show for you here at AM Ocala Live. And until then, until Monday, goodbye.